Country House Rescue is back, and this time entrepreneur Simon Davis is at the helm.
Some people, though, they look at this and say, why should we have any sympathy for you? You could just sell it.
We really do need help because we're just not making any headway on our own.
The pot has been emptied. There's nothing left in the pot.
I do have my moments of darkness and doubt where I think, what have I done?
Simon Davis is a hard-hitting businessman with a proven track record in the fields of hospitality, restaurant consultancy and events. Simon is going to take his years of business experience and immerse himself in the world of the British country house.
I'm trying to plot my way to the swimming pool.
Yes, do, please do.
This will enable him to find the practical and sometimes unorthodox business solutions that will help secure their future.
Go on there, get in there. This takes shabby chic to a whole new level.
You don't need to be living in this enormous house all year round.
Oh, yes, we do.
No, you don't.
I can't do this, I'm sorry.
The reality is, if you don't employ anyone else, that's going to stay empty. Simple as that.
Go away! In the middle of... Shut up!
This time, Chapel Cleeve is crumbling at an alarming rate. Can Simon help the owner fulfill her dream of restoring one of Somerset's most historic houses?
Maybe he sent you here.
Sent from God. Got a hell of a lot to live up to.
Hidden in the hills of West Somerset is Chapel Cleeve, a Grade II listed manor house dating back to the 1400s with a fascinating history. Throughout the centuries, this house has passed through many families, as well as serving as a refuge for pilgrims and, more recently, as a hotel. But it was near derelict when, in 1998, Jeannie Wilkins bought Chapel Cleeve at auction for £360,000 on behalf of her and her partner.
It was a wreck, really. The roof had gone, and we had started at the top and worked down.
They enlisted the help of a group of friends and country house enthusiasts affectionately called the A-Team, who, over the next 3 years, renovated the Edwardian west wing and grand staircase.
Every day was an adventure. We made such progress, and you could actually see the house coming alive again.
But her happiness wasn't to last, and after decades together, the couple split up.
You never know when love comes, and I guess you never know when love goes. But he's been gone for 6 years now, and struggling on, but it's not the same.
Now, 63-year-old Jeannie lives on her own in this 15-bedroomed house and survives on a frugal income from letting out one small wing.
I never have the heating on. I sit in one room with a fire, go to bed with my clothes on when it's very, very cold.
But while she devotes her time and every penny she has to the endless maintenance of the house and 7-acre estate, the building is crumbling.
I can't sustain this because I have no liquid gold to continue to do things. And with a building like this, you're fighting fires all the time. As soon as you've done a bit there, it's time to do a bit there. It has a very checkered history. I would like to see it survive, to try and preserve it for future generations. But I think its days could be numbered.
On the verge of bankruptcy, Jeannie has been forced to put her beloved home up for sale. But desperate to safeguard this important part of Britain's heritage, she's called on the expertise of businessman Simon Davis.
The sat-nav says I'm pretty close, but this doesn't look like a stonking great big country house to me. Ah, there's a house there. How I get there, of course, is another matter. I'm just going to follow my nose. Ah, dead end. It's the hardest house in the world to find.
The house has been on the market for over 18 months at a price of £1.7 million. But not only is it hemmed in by housing estates, its listed building status and planning restrictions mean it hasn't tempted any serious buyers yet.
Ah, Jeannie. How do you do? Simon Davis.
Nice to meet you. Come on in, have a warm.
Thank you. What a wonderful hall. Amazing plasterwork. How long have you been here, Jeannie?
About 11 years now.
So just 11 years. And why did you buy it?
I fell in love with it. It's big, but it's still warm and friendly and welcoming, and had a lot of very happy times here.
And do you live here alone?
Well, with the fleet, I have 6 cats. That is Mr.
Oh, right.
Bosie Joe.
Hello, Mr. Bosie Joe. I'd love to see some of the rest of the house, actually, so I can get a full picture.
Come on, then.
Thank you.
Jeannie begins by showing Simon the wing of the house she lovingly renovated with her partner and friends. Starting with the 100-foot Edwardian gallery, with its plasterwork by the celebrated architect George Bankart.
This plasterwork just goes on and on and on, doesn't it?
Absolutely beautiful. And the more you look up, the more you will see.
Grapes and acorns. Very grand staircase as well.
It was over 40 years ago when Jeannie's enduring love affair with Chapel Cleeve began.
I came here in my teens when it was a restaurant with bars and a lovely ballroom. I just thought it was absolutely lovely. I never dreamt that one day I would actually own it. The atmosphere was still here. I mean, you couldn't help but love it. It just needed some TLC. And this is, or was, the ballroom. You have the most magnificent sunsets, and of course you can see the steam train too as it runs past. And over there was where the band used to play.
So you used to come here years ago?
Dancing, yes.
First kiss on this ballroom?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Although there are over 45 rooms in the manor, only 18 are habitable. And apart from small fireplaces in some rooms, Jeannie cannot afford to heat it.
They used to have a lot of parties here. The Queen, her sister, Princess Margaret, Bishop of Winchester.
All came to have a party with you?
Perry, I wish. But no, they have all been guests here.
With some people, though, they look at this and the grandeur and how you're rattling around in this massive house and say, A, you're completely bonkers, and B, and B, why should we have any sympathy for you? You could just sell it.
Yeah, that's true, but then you'd have to be absolutely barmy to buy it anyway.
Right. I'm getting the picture.
Shall I show you up to your room?
To get the full Chapel Cleeve experience and to provide inspiration for his business plan, Simon will stay overnight in one of the house's 15 bedrooms.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's in wonderful condition. This is a lot of your work.
Yes, it is.
The plasterwork's absolutely beautiful, very intricate.
This is for you, Simon. I do hope you'll be comfortable. There's a bathroom through there, torch for emergencies, and see you for dinner.
Thank you very much. I can't help but be impressed by Jeannie's extraordinary enthusiasm. Here she is rattling around in this enormous house without a bean to rub together. But the situation is pretty dire. I'm going to have to find out a little bit more over dinner.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Right, it's a fair old height from the kitchen, isn't it?
Comes with something when you've got to cook your own supper, doesn't it? I'm sorry about this.
All right. We're not in the dining room.
Too cold.
Too cold at this time, OK. What a great spread, Jeannie.
The idea is you take one of these and
Yes.
you take some meat and you just stick it up there and cook it as you would like to cook it. The important thing is, would you like a glass of wine?
I would love a glass of wine. That's very kind. Would you like me to pour it for you?
Please do.
Must be quite nice for you to have someone here to pour your wine for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, but I've become quite accomplished. Thank you.
Does it get lonely, though?
Yes, of course it does.
It must do. Well, cheers, Jeannie.
Thank you. Cheers.
When Jeannie and her partner split up, she took on the massive financial burden of maintaining Chapel Cleeve by herself. The small income she gets from renting out a wing of the property leaves nothing to complete the huge restoration project.
OK, Jeannie, let's cut to what the financial situation really is here. What do you think you survive on annually at the moment?
I suppose I survive on just over £100 a week.
Right.
£5,200 a year, which is a very small amount of money. And the work that's required, you would estimate at what to bring this house up to?
Well, if you have to employ labour, you're probably looking at £250,000.
Right.
And you're probably looking at another £250,000 with architects' fees, surveyors' fees, and everything else.
So potentially £500,000?
Minimum.
Minimum. Don't you sometimes think, what the hell was I thinking buying this house?
No.
I mean, this paint's a pretty miserable reading.
I know, but there's always another day. There's always tomorrow.
Well, you say that, but at the rate you're going, there might not be that many more days of you living in this house.
I'm a great believer that sooner or later things will change. Maybe he sent you here.
Sent from God. God, that's a hell of a lot to live up to. Whoa. She's a compelling mix, Jeannie. On the one hand, I think she's bonkers rattling around in this vast pile with no money and loads of cats. But on the other side, I can't help but admire her passion and her commitment for this place. I mean, she's not just some aristo who inherited it and then frittered all her money away. But the fact is, she needs £500,000 to sort it out, and she survives on £100 a week. Well, I'm going to have to be some kind of miracle worker.
But are Jeannie's dreams for Chapel Cleeve about to be dashed as Simon confronts her with reality?
This wasn't really the plan, though, was it, when you bought this house? To be sitting in an empty jacuzzi full of dead flies?
Six miles west of Somerset's popular tourist town of Minehead, and close to the Cistercian Cleeve Abbey, lies Chapel Cleeve, a 15th century manor house steeped in history. The original structure dates back to 1455 and was built as a refuge for pilgrims visiting the abbey. After passing through several owners, the main section of the house, including a new 5-bay Tudor-style frontage and extra wing, was built by the Halliday family in the late 19th century. At that time, the entrance led into a grand octagonal hallway with a sweeping staircase. In 1912, Chapel Cleeve was sold on again, this time to Gerald Lycett, an industrialist who made the final addition of the grand west wing, with its 100-foot-long gallery and ballroom. This reflected the era's fashionable arts and crafts movement, with typical oak panelling, ornate plasterwork, and stained glass. Chapel Cleeve also served as a wartime hospital, radio tracking station, and school. After the estate was broken up in 1951, it became a renowned hotel, boasting England's first German-themed beer cellar. Its celebrated history now lies far behind it, and it's home to just one woman, Jeannie Wilkins, who is on a single-handed mission to restore this once magnificent property.
All you're doing is trying to keep the rain out, trying to keep it dry, but you're not progressing, and it needs lots and lots of labour and lots of TLC.
Most of the house is uninhabitable. She has split up with her partner and now lives on her own with her 6 cats. In a precarious financial position, Jeannie reluctantly put the house she dearly loves on the market. But after 18 months, there's been little interest, and her options are running out.
I'm here on my own. I've got all this space. I would willingly consider parting with it if it meant that the house could continue and I could have my home here.
She's called on the expertise of businessman Simon Davis. To get a feel for the house, he spent the night in one of Chapel Cleeve's guest bedrooms.
Oh, shocking night's sleep last night. I really couldn't sleep at all. It was so eerie. There was a wind against the windows and the floorboards were creaking. I kept hearing all these noises.
Simon is formulating a business plan to show how this house could earn its keep and allow Jeannie to continue restoring one of Somerset's most historic houses.
Morning, Jeannie.
Good morning, Simon. Did you sleep well?
Quite a lot of bumps in the night.
Oh, really?
Creaking and bumps. You're probably used to them, are you?
I am.
Yeah.
Did you hear the owls?
I heard owls, the owl and the pussycats, I think.
Very likely.
Over half of Chapel Cleeve's 45 rooms are in need of renovation, and Jeannie must reveal to Simon the true condition of her home.
Use your imagination.
What happens here?
You jacuzzi.
Do you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Del Boy's.
Oh, thank you.
In his flat. I'm going to give it a go. Oh, bloody hell.
Not supported yet.
Really? Well, I can see the idea behind this. The view is very good. This wasn't really the plan, though, was it, when you bought this house? To be sitting in an empty jacuzzi full of dead flies?
No.
No.
Room after room is in a dilapidated condition, and Jeannie currently estimates the restoration costs at around £500,000. But it's the medieval East Wing that is in the most perilous state.
Steady as you go, but...
Yeah, well, watch some of these floorboards here. It's just like we're in a different house, isn't it, altogether? Makes me slightly anxious. Don't want to move around too much in here.
This goes back to when the Cistercian monks were here.
Historically, this is the heart of the house.
Yes,
this is
it is, and it's my favourite room. I think there's an atmosphere here which is different to the rest of the house, for me.
Yeah, quite spooky.
With the tour of the main house over, Simon wants to see what lies beneath.
Just when I thought this house couldn't get any more vast, I've come downstairs to the cellars. Absolute warren. In fact, it's the entire floor area of the house.
Over the years, these cellars have served many functions, even being used as an underground rave venue in the 1990s. With its spooky atmosphere, Simon may have uncovered a hidden gem.
Chapel Cleeve, this is the house that keeps on giving. It's absolutely vast. In here, these are the more traditional cellars. There's a wine vault there. This is where they used to hang all the meat. It just shows the sort of colourful and chequered history that Chapel Cleeve has had.
Simon sets off to explore the local area. The Somerset tourist industry is worth £950 million per year. And with a reputation for creating unique events that capture the public's attention, he's after a solution for Chapel Cleeve that will be both original and lucrative. Nearby Minehead, whose population triples to 35,000 in peak tourist season, is home to the West Somerset Railway. As they carry over 20,000 passengers a year close to Chapel Cleeve, Simon wants to consult the railway's general manager, Paul Conibert.
Do you know Chapel Cleeve, the house?
Yes, obviously, as a steam driver, we do actually see it as we drop down through the countryside.
What I'd love to hear from you is whether, if I did come up with something for the inside of Chapel Cleeve, whether you think there's a captive audience here and whether there's a potential partnership with the steam railway.
I think 100%. If you can provide a combined visit with a steam train ride and then visit to an old house, that is a wonderful day out for people.
Simon returns to present his findings. His business plan for Chapel Cleeve has three key components that together will not only provide Jeannie with a means to restore the house, but also help her secure the support she needs.
Jeannie, good evening.
Hello, Simon.
When I first heard I was come to see a woman who was living in a vast house with her 6 cats and no money, I thought, she's completely mad. She just must sell it. It's absurd. Having met you, I now realise quite vividly what this house means to you. You have a profound emotional attachment to it. That's quite apparent, not least because it was bought with your partner, and you've done an enormous amount of work on it. However, emotionally, I do think you have to move on.
First, Simon addresses Jeannie's precarious financial position. He wants to create a regular income by combining the popular nearby steam railway with the eerie cellar space under the manor house into a unique partnership.
I would like to create the nation's preeminent country house ghost experience here at Chapel Cleeve. Take the scene. You've bought your ticket to go on the steam railway. You've come down from Minehead. You walk up to the spooky house which you've just seen from the train. You walk in, you're met by people, actors who are acting as ghosts. And there's a tour that you take down into the cellars. It's a fun, spooky ghost tour.
That sounds
What do you think?
wonderful. Oh, wow.
By teaming up with an established events company, Jeannie would benefit from their experience and investment. A properly run attraction at Chapel Cleeve should generate an £80,000 income for the house by year 3. But with such a large property, Simon feels that there is scope for housing more than one enterprise. As Jeannie says she is open to sharing the house with others if it allows her to continue living there, Simon's second idea is to find an organisation or charity which needs the space she can offer. In return, they could help her with Chapel Cleeve's considerable running costs, as well as paying a small rent.
My idea is that we actually look, in time for my next visit, to do a sort of beauty parade, if you like, of potential charities, to see if, A, this is the sort of property that they may like to partner up with, and B, whether they're the sort of charities that you think you can work with and still live here.
Simon's final concern is the massive task of restoration that Jeannie has been struggling with on her own. In the past, she had a group of friends known as the A-Team, whose help was vital. But as they got older or moved away, the project stalled.
I do think we need to look to try and get a new A-Team, and I would like to put you in touch with some organisations where we may be able to elicit some, if not entirely free workforce, certainly a very, very cheap workforce, because as we all know, that is one of the biggest cost centres with any job. The thing is as well, Jeannie, is that the point of making this money is so you can finish the work that you started here and complete that journey.
I would really, really like to do that.
And if we can raise enough money to allow you to finish that and then stay here and live in this house that has been such an important part of your life.
That would be great.
Then I would consider that a success.
Me too. Well, at the moment, my legs are like jelly, my tummy's going over, and it all sounds very exciting, and I'm always up for a challenge. So, if a solution can be found and I can walk forward with somebody, well then that would be wonderful.
Simon is in London, inviting groups who may want to share the space or help with restoration to an open day that will take place in 10 weeks' time. Meanwhile, Jeannie gets back to her day job of caring for her home.
But it's very repetitive. But when you look at the windows that have been done and the ones that haven't, it's rewarding in that sense too.
But it isn't long before she has her first opportunity to meet potential partners.
How long do you think you would need to be here? OK, then that'll be fine.
Wanting to get the ghost tour off the ground, Simon has asked an entertainment company to visit Chapel Cleeve.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hello, nice to meet you. Welcome, team from the Peel Entertainment Group.
Well, it's a lovely old house, but it's had quite a checkered history, as you can imagine. You might well need some torches.
The company runs events in venues from stately homes to cruise ships. At Chapel Cleeve, they are interested in creating a tour weaving actors, storytelling and clever technology into an original way of guiding paying visitors around a country house. First of all, Jeannie takes the team into the dark cellars that stretch the length of the property, which she thinks could be of most interest.
It's all on the flat, but if you'd like to follow me, we can come out to the back of the house this way.
We do need to think about light. It's always easier in the dark to make things scary.
They then head to the next section through Jeannie's main residence.
If you follow me forward, this is what we call the gallery.
Jeannie leads them through to the medieval East Wing, where there are some interesting stories which might prove inspiring for the ghost tour.
So were the monks actually in this part of the house?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, it is tempting to just sort of make up stories for ghost walks, but in actual fact, if you can pin it to the history of the house...
I'm sure there'll be some stories there, James, that we can pull out.
They've created a room with no windows.
Ghost walks have been growing in popularity in Britain, but there are very few permanently located at a country house.
Would not like to be stuck in this room.
To establish it as an attraction at Chapel Cleeve would require up to £250,000 to install the infrastructure and cover the first year's running costs. To assess the feasibility and demand, the company want to run a trial event to test the idea.
I think we need to start thinking about the actual route that the Ghost Walk is going to take. To begin with, Jeannie, we should concentrate on this floor and also perhaps in the cellars.
That would mean, then, that we would be looking to come more into the house. Now, of course, that means it starts to come into your area, into your living area, and that might be quite intrusive.
Yes, I think it might well be. It isn't what I'd envisaged.
But I think the first thing to do is just get people here and do a bit of a tester and see how it feels. I think that today, spending time with us has enabled Jeannie to see that this is going to be quite an intrusive experience. And the best part of the house for us at the moment is the decorated part. And I see Jeannie's resistance when we talk about going inside. And it will no longer be just her home, it will be a space for people to come in.
For Jeannie, the reality of sharing her beloved home with people who see it as a business first is more than she'd bargained for.
I don't know that in the longer term I would want everybody coming through effectively the entire ground floor of my home.
And the extent of what will be involved in making Chapel Cleeve profitable is beginning to hit home.
I do doubt that I can achieve what I set out to achieve, or what we set out to achieve. I would like to see it through.
Best of luck. And she needs to impress them.
When Chapel Cleeve opens its doors, will Jeannie be able to make some friends with benefits?
I think I've gone to heaven.
Chapel Cleeve Manor in West Somerset is in dire straits. On the brink of bankruptcy, its owner, 63-year-old Jeannie Wilkins, has reluctantly put her home on the market.
Most people worry about money. A lot of people, when they get to my age, don't expect to have to. And I didn't think I would ever find myself in this position, but I've put myself in it, and I've now got to find a way of working with it or getting out of it.
It's January, nearly 3 months since Simon Davis's last visit, and he's invited a whole host of charities and other organisations to look around Jeannie's house to see if they could use the space and give Chapel Cleeve a secure future.
Hello, Jeannie.
Oh, good afternoon,
Keeping
Simon.
the home fires burning. Very good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for coming.
Burning the furniture already.
Well, yes, I am, really.
Has it got that desperate?
I'm afraid it's getting that way.
Oh, really?
Sharing her home with a charity would not only give her a small income and help with the upkeep, but also give her long-term stability. As the groups are about to arrive, Simon is concerned about first impressions.
I just want to mention something. When I first came here and I saw all these teddy bears and things, I didn't want to say anything, so I didn't want to offend you. Can I ask that we get rid of them?
Oh.
I'm not wishing to be rude about them. Well, actually, you know what? I am being rude about them. I can't stand them. And I think if you're trying to create a business here, there's an impression we need to give. And slightly moth-eaten Jemima puddle ducks and stuff is not really the look we're going for.
With its varied history, Chapel Cleeve's future security could lie in the hands of these prospective collaborators.
Actually, I'll do all these, Jeannie, because they're about to arrive, so I think if you go and get changed.
And with a potential partnership in the offing, Jeannie, as the manor's sole mistress, will have to be open to their proposals.
To be honest with you, I think Jeannie doesn't really seem that spirited and enthusiastic about today, which does cause me a few concerns. This is your chance to show off Chapel Cleeve. Best of luck.
Thank you. Good morning, good morning. I'm Jeannie Wilkins. Well, it's Naomi Griffin.
So many of you. Hello, Simon Davis.
You're all very, very welcome. What I do have at Chapel Cleeve is a lot of space. So if we can help people together, and that will bring in an income for the house, then I would be very, very grateful. I think it's got a nice feel to it. It's friendly, it's warm, it's welcoming, even if it's a bit cold. Anyway, this was the ballroom.
I think Jeannie did pretty well there with the introduction. She She's now taking them on a tour of the house. I'm just going to join in.
This was a bar in the days when it was a hotel. The light is very good for artistic work.
How long ago was this refurbished?
Well, we came here 13 years ago and the roof had all but gone.
What do you think so far?
From outside, it was very dark, very gothic, but then when we came in, I was amazed by how light it is.
Jeannie did this with a whole group of her friends.
Really?
Yeah, they put up the scaffold.
So you don't actually want to sell it?
No.
And your vision for it is still to retain it as a family home, but with business coming in?
And continue the development of the house.
As there is so much riding on a successful outcome for all parties, Simon takes the opportunity to have a quiet word with Jeannie.
I think it's going really well, and you're doing a really good job, and you seem to get them engaged, but you're focusing quite a lot on the history of the house and a lot on the renovation. I know that's something that's very close to your heart, but, you know, it's not just about you and about that, it's about them. We need to be asking them what they feel they can bring to the house. Is this a suitable house for them? Ask them what their needs are, okay?
Yeah. And then as you come through, you can see more work in progress. And I don't know if you're seeing anything that you think that you can utilise, any space that you think you can use.
With only a few renovated rooms, this huge 27,000 square foot house is in need of extensive refurbishment, something Jeannie could never hope to achieve alone. To that end, one of the guests Simon invited is Paul Vowles, a construction course tutor from the local college.
I really wanted you to come here because I thought this potentially is an excellent blank canvas for some of those students to ply their trade, learn their trade. Do you think it has potential for that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. The areas around the wallpapering, the woodwork, even the plaster work, be ideal for students to come out and actually feel what a real job is like, to be perfectly honest.
Having seen the house, the freezing cold guests head downstairs to thaw out over a cup of tea.
Would you like to come and help yourselves?
And Jeannie finally seems to be warming to her task.
But you were talking about possible yoga classes.
One-off sessions a weekend.
Among the guests are Naomi Griffith and Jessica Prendergast, consultants who have an impressive track record in setting up community projects.
I've been working with local artists all around the area, so people who are looking for studios and art space and places where they can come together and work together. And this, I think, kind of lends itself to that quite well.
Thank you.
Opening Chapel Cleeve has been a great success.
Thank you.
May all your dreams be fulfilled.
That's very sweet of you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
But has it produced any long-term interest?
Oh, it's a lovely, lovely building. A project like this would be ideal for our students to come out and practice their skills.
She's obviously got an extraordinary amount of energy and determination to get things done. Yeah. I think we could work really well together.
How do you feel it went?
I think it went remarkably well.
Because I've always felt that with you there's a certain reservation about opening up your home. Are you prepared for that, realistically?
Yes, I am, but it's a lot to take in all at once, if you know what I mean. But if that enables me to stay, knowing that there is an income, it means that I can have some freedom in my own life. So it's a double-edged sword.
But we do need to make money.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see, by the next time I come, that we actually do have a ghost walk. And also for you, particularly, to follow up with some of those charities and organisations.
Oh, I will.
I'll be down on you like a ton of bricks if you don't.
It's very good now, the roof, but you get the odd one, like this one over here.
It's February, and a date for the ghost tour has been arranged. The entertainment team have only 10 weeks to stage the event and sell lots of tickets. But they're not the only visitors bringing Chapel Cleeve to life. Tutor Paul Vowles has brought 10 of his decorating students from Somerset College to start the renovation of the upper floor.
Look what they've done in the morning. The ceiling, the wall, and now they're sanding wood. And it's just can't really believe it. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I think I've gone to heaven.
never come across a ceiling like this with bad cracks in the ceiling rows.
Simon's idea of bringing their course out of the classroom and into Chapel Cleeve has worked, and both parties reap the rewards. Chapel Cleeve will get nearly 10,000 hours of labour for free, and most importantly, Jeannie has assembled a precious A-team once again.
And the project's going to be 3 or 4 years at least, and we've got a massive scope to bring not just the decorating students, but carpentry students, plastering students, brickwork students out here to try and build this property up.
And then will I do a bit of lunch for you like I did today?
That'd be good if you could. That'd be brilliant.
It's a few days before Simon returns for the ghost tour trial, and Jeannie has come to Minehead to continue the discussions she's been having about sharing Chapel Cleeve with a charity. At the open day, she met Naomi Griffith, who set up the Eye, a skate park and youth centre built with £3 million of lottery funding. An expert in getting large grants for community enterprises, she wants to partner with Jeannie on turning Chapel Cleeve into a new art-focused project.
Around this, it's mainly scooters, although they also skateboards and BMXs have their own separate session.
Naomi is proposing they apply for £1 million of funding to renovate the derelict East Wing and turn the space into 15 artist studios, as well as using the upper floor landing as a gallery.
For us, what's important is that for it to work as a business is that people feel that they are coming into part of the house and that that's part of the experience, not that it's just some studios around the back, because a big part of how it would work financially is for it to be open to the public and people to have that feeling of coming into this beautiful house and showing it off to its best.
To encourage visitors and a sense of community, the proposal includes a cafe on the ground floor, which would provide Jeannie with an estimated £10,000 rent per year.
It was a bit more in terms of downstairs space that I had anticipated. I mean, it's probably doable. Well, I think a lot of people would use it, and for people to sit outside and have that beautiful view and see the steam train in the distance.
But this project could take years to complete, and under immediate financial pressure, Jeannie needs an income now. The impending ghost tour is her best chance.
Just see the roof. There's the west wing. I think if people come and can appreciate what we're trying to save, then they'll encourage their family and friends to come, and it will hopefully grow like a mushroom. Because it is a beautiful house and it deserves to be saved for the future.
It's April, and Simon's final visit to Chapel Cleeve. In the 10 weeks since he was last here, his ghost tour idea has become reality.
Hello, Jeannie. So how have you been? Busy?
Busy.
We've got this event, the ghost tour, which I'm very excited about.
We're sold out.
You sold out. Fantastic news. Is that the train I can hear?
It is, yeah.
So this is the way that the guests will come?
It is. You can hear it gathering momentum now.
I really can. It's so evocative, isn't it, the old steam train?
With the event sold out, Simon is keen to talk to Susanna Daly, the MD of the entertainment company, about a future collaboration with Jeannie.
What I'm very keen on finding out is what, as a business, is possible with this kind of event.
We've got the perfect backdrop here, an absolutely stunning house, so we're already halfway there. However, in order to make something like this work, then clearly we need a really good, solid infrastructure, good marketing, and that's where Jeannie's going to need some help.
Am I right in thinking that you might be interested in working with me?
So what we'd love to do, after the pilot, we want to get some audience feedback, and we'll use this plan as the starting point. And we'll take it step by step. But this pilot is absolutely crucial because it gives us a really clear litmus test as to whether it's interesting to people.
It's wonderful to see this burgeoning sense of optimism in Jeannie. It's so important that the ghost tour goes off with a real bang. Only then will it help give her that extra boost of confidence that I know she needs if she is going to make a long-term commitment to the success of Chapel Cleeve.
But will an encounter with Chapel Cleeve's history hit the right note?
Quiet! Let's just go inside and have a look.
Morning.
It's the trial of the first ever ghost tour at Chapel Cleeve. Its owner, Jeannie Wilkins, is close to bankruptcy and needs to start earning cash if she's to avoid losing her home.
Today's the big day. Yeah, how are you feeling?
Excited, anxious, nervous, all of the above.
The actors are all doing their last-minute preparations and makeup and putting their costumes on and really geeing up because the first group of guests are about to arrive. And I get a sense as well that Jeannie is also beginning to gee up. Anyway, it's going to be a big day for Chapel Cleeve.
The Ghost Express will take the paying customers along the West Somerset Steam Railway towards Chapel Cleeve.
Welcome on board this special service to the forgotten manor of Chapel Cleeve.
The 20 passengers have paid £24 each for an adult ticket, and expectations are high.
Last guests about to arrive for the first ghost tour at Chapel Cleeve. It's quite exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here they come.
Any country house with its large cast of former servants and wealthy families would provide the tour writer with inspiration enough. But with this house's former occupants also including monks and tragic brides, Chapel Cleeve has inspired a range of fictional characters that they hope will bring the house alive. The tour begins in the gloomy medieval wing.
We're starting our tour here because this is actually the oldest part of the building. Now, in around 1430, this was
Charlie to Kirsty, come in.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, just excuse me one moment. Kirsty to Charlie, I've just started the tour. Is this urgent?
Well, it is if you've lost one of your party already. We can have someone upstairs.
The house should be empty. We're not insured to go upstairs anyway, over.
I've just got to go and check upstairs. I'll just be back in, it won't be more than a minute.
You've heard talk of the monks that were here. Cistercians they were.
It seems the ghoulish butler is in fact a bit too convincing for a younger member of the group.
Time plays the tune, and we must dance. And your curiosity must be fed.
A bit too scary for someone.
Please, watch your steps.
As they progress through the house's different eras, the stories also evolve.
Can you imagine the consternation when, amid the grief and anguish that had gripped Chapel Cleeve that day, who should walk into the servants' hall downstairs but James Hawkins?
Yes, sort of vines and things. So just be careful. People coming in.
Despite his ghoulish encounter, the boy hasn't lost his appetite. But will the audience be able to stomach the horrors of the cellar?
That's how they died in here. That's how it happened. Curiosity satisfied now? Well, you wanted to know. You wanted to know.
Well, I found it very scary, I must admit, especially downstairs when the big crash happened with the, I think it was the door, wasn't it? Yes. The door went, yeah. Yeah, that was very good.
The beginning was good. It just scared me. And I enjoyed the fact that they were so, welcoming.
I thought that was superb. He created a brilliant atmosphere, totally believable and very gripping, so that you didn't notice things happening behind you until you were meant to, which was very clever, yeah.
The day has brought in nearly £1,000 from ticket sales and refreshments. But Simon wants to find out from the organisers, Susanna and James, if it's been successful enough for them to consider running it on a permanent basis, if Jeannie can secure the investment required from the banks.
Great. How do you think it went?
Oh, yeah, we were really happy with that. Yeah.
It did, but really well.
I think we were so pleased it was sold out because it shows there's a market for it.
We had lots of jumps, which is exactly what we wanted.
There are lots of different periods of architecture and history in this house, so there are lots of different things we could do. We're not limited to one story.
No, the house is the star, really.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to all
Brilliant.
the wonderful players.
It's been a pleasure.
Transformed from an empty mansion with only cats for company, the sun-filled house and terraces are alive with people. The careful restoration of the upper floor by Jeannie's new A-team is steaming ahead. She is taking legal advice to help develop a grant-funded arts project in the East Wing. And after a successful test event, there's clear potential for Simon's ideas to generate the revenue which would allow Jeannie to continue living at Chapel Cleeve.
So I've had a good chat with Susanna and also the team from the art project. Both of them are very positive and very optimistic that with you and with Chapel Cleeve they can go forward with these ideas. I only hope that you feel as positive as that.
I do, because I think it's a good mix and I think it's what the house will need. I don't think you can rely on just one sector.
Well, it's great. Again, it's all about those partnerships. Well, I wish you the best of luck here at Chapel Cleeve. I think what you've achieved already has been phenomenal, and I hope you now feel on a more optimistic path.
I do, and thank you very, very much.
My pleasure. You look after yourself.
Safe journey.
All right, and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm so pleased to be leaving Jeannie here at the centre of a network of people who share her enthusiasm for this property. And also that Chapel Cleeve might just be on the brink of a more profitable future. But crucially, is that this most eccentric of manor houses continues to forge its curious path through history.
Crawfordland Castle in southwest Scotland is one of the country's last hidden treasures. But now struggling to pay its way, it's at a crucial turning point in its 800-year history. Simon Crawford, the 28th Laird, and his wife Aditi have just moved in to try and rescue the house where he grew up.
For me, it's coming home, and that's been one of my inspirations of wanting to be here.
With huge running costs and no money to cover them, they have asked businessman Simon Davis to find the radical solutions that will breathe new life into their crumbling home.
How long have you got before it starts to get very, very troubling?
6 months at the most.
With only months to turn Crawfordland's fortunes around, can Simon help this 21st century family save their 14th century castle?
I just think, oh, what have I done to deserve this?
I don't feel that we've got as far as I'd like to have got.
They're ruined. I've never done haggis pakora before.
Putting it bluntly, at the moment, would this make the grade?
Not yet.
It's going to be all hands on deck if,
Yeah.
if we're going to make this work.
Yeah, I'll give it.
Crawfordland, a castle dating back over 8 centuries, is hidden away in 600 acres of Ayrshire in southwest Scotland. It's been home to the Crawford family since 1245, but constant maintenance of the fragile property has become a huge financial drain. The 27th Laird, Peter Crawford, spent over £300,000 on its upkeep until age and ill health forced him to move out 2 years ago and rent out the whole property. Now, in a bid to reclaim the family home, his son Simon Crawford and his wife Aditi have moved in, and they must make it earn its keep.
It's a very daunting project to kind of take on. We need to work out how we're going to actually raise enough money to make the castle somewhere that we can live in.
But moving back into Simon's childhood home wasn't an easy choice. They've given up their modest 3-bedroom cottage for a dilapidated 35-room castle with huge debts.
Our costs have slightly changed.
Yes.
Now, a small 1952 workers' cottage has some slightly different running costs to an 11-bedroom castle.
And we're just about to triple our mortgage to come and live here.
Simon and Aditi have raised enough finance to give themselves 6 months' grace. If by the end of that time they don't have a successful business in place, 800 years of history and 28 generations of Crawfords living in the castle will come to an end.
There isn't an option to quit, because if you quit, then the family loses the history, so you have to keep going.
But if they're going to save their family home, they needed to start making money. So they've called in business consultant Simon Davis.
Right, so this is the entrance. Not particularly inviting. For access, call as a mobile phone number, so... Hello, is that Simon Crawford?
Yes, it is.
Hello, it's Simon Davis here. I'm at your gates, and can you let me in?
What? Yeah, of course. I'll hang up and I'll let you in. I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
With a proven track record in saving struggling businesses with radical new solutions, the Crawfords hope Simon can channel their passion and energy into a winning business formula.
We've got lots of ideas, that's our biggest problem. And it'd be really good with someone with expertise to kind of focus us a bit more. Go for this, this is what you do, these are your aims, and that's where you should be.
Simon.
Hi, Simon.
That's Simon Davis. How do you do?
My wife,
Hi.
DT, how do you do?
Good, thank you.
So Crawfordland. This is your new home, I believe.
It's our new home.
So how long have you actually been here?
800 years.
800 years?
Yes.
Yeah, you look fresh on it.
Thank you.
Now, how long have you actually lived here yourselves?
2.5 weeks.
Just 2.5
Yeah.
weeks. So this is all very new.
Indeed it is.
I look forward to hearing more about it when we go inside. Should we go inside
Yeah,
and I can
come on
take a
in.
look? You can show me around. Bit of work needed here.
Yeah, there's a bit of paintwork. to do.
Interesting colour. Very bold.
Yeah, it's nice and warm. I suppose cold castle.
Warm is one word for it. It needs a bit of work, doesn't it?
Well,
Put it bluntly. Because I mean, up here, if you look, I mean, that's crumbling away, isn't
yes.
it?
If you go through it quickly and don't look too closely, everything looks fine.
Yeah.
It's when you stop and actually look a bit closer.
Yeah, it's my job to look closely.
Yeah, well.
That's why I'm here.
Yes, absolutely.
So the situation at the moment, financially here, is, I mean, poor.
Simon Crawford manages the 600-acre estate, but Aditi, who works full-time as a medical rep, is the main breadwinner.
I get scared all the time. I worry what's going to happen and how we're going to pay all the debts back and what if it doesn't work. And yes, I do have my moments of darkness and doubt, but I think, what have I done?
But Crawfordland is more than just a family home that needs to be saved. It's a monument to British history, with a 17th century plaster ceiling decorated in preparation for a visit from Charles I, a 19th century tapestry made for Simon's great-grandfather, Viscount Kemsley, and letters handwritten by Mary Queen of Scots.
Bloody hell, that's another good colour you've got in here.
And beyond the acid yellow walls, the library boasts a collection of over 2,000 books, some dating back to the 1500s, and family trees showing links to the 13th century rebel fighter and national hero, William Wallace.
Just seeing all these wonderful old leather-bound books here, you know, it really reeks of history.
Yeah.
What's the really exciting bit of your family history? What's the bit that people can really get their teeth into?
Well, our connection to William Wallace is quite a good one. Wallace's mother was a Crawford.
So you're a direct descendant of William Wallace, then?
Yes.
Doesn't get much bigger than that
No,
in
it's
Scotland, does
pretty
it?
good. It's pretty good. Yes.
I mean, potentially you've got one of the last great unlocked Scottish
Yeah.
castles,
Yeah.
which is exciting.
30 years ago, to try and generate some much-needed income, Simon's parents divided the castle to create a separate rental property. Known as the Tower House, it has its own kitchen, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a grand Georgian drawing room. The Crawfords plan to rent it out for self-catering holiday lets, with accommodation for 10 people and charging up to £1,500 a week. To get a better understanding of how it might work, Simon Davis will be staying the night.
It's a pretty impressive space, isn't it?
It used to be the dining room when the house had its last kind of building period in the Victorian times. So this would be in the banqueting hall.
So I'm sleeping up there?
Yes.
And if this area would be part of the self-catering area?
Well, this would be a suite.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I better get my bags, actually, because I don't have my stuff, so I'm just going to nip down and get that.
Spending the night will give Simon the crucial time he needs to formulate his business plan to save the castle. And to find out more, he's going to have dinner with the Crawfords.
Where's the hand for serving the rice?
Moving into the self-catering and hospitality industry is a world away from the Crawfords' backgrounds of estate management and medical sales. Simon Davis is concerned that they are taking on an area of business they know nothing about.
We have no experience of hospitality at all, other than that we used to throw the odd small dinner party at the cottage. So this place faces quite a big challenge for us with regards to that.
I hope he likes Indian food. But we should have got peanuts.
Good evening.
Evening,
Hi.
how are you?
Hi. How are you? Happy to see you again.
Yeah.
So do you like hosting? Are you into the idea of hosting?
We did it more, didn't we, before the kids, but yes.
It's a big difference, though, isn't there, between having dinner parties and hosting your friends and hosting paying punters?
We're both certainly up for it, anyway.
The Crawfords have increased their total borrowings to £725,000, which will allow them £80,000 for immediate repairs and maintenance. They may have moved in just under 3 weeks ago, but Simon wants them to face up to the seriousness of their financial situation.
What, in your estimation, is the annual cost to live in the castle, upkeep?
30,000 a year.
About 30,000 a year.
Yeah, that's kind of insurance,
Heating,
tax and heating.
council tax, electricity.
What about maintenance? I've seen, as I've been around, there is quite a lot of work that needs doing here.
Potentially up to £100,000. Unfortunately, that doesn't even start painting the hall.
I'm not even going to ask you for a number for a total renovation. I'm talking about the stuff that immediately we'll be doing in the ideal world.
Yeah.
I mean, are you aware of the difficulties that you're facing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we need to make it a success, and we need to make it a success quickly, you know.
How long have you got before it starts to get very, very troubling?
6 months at the most.
We need to be in a position where we feel confident that we've got a business that's going to work come end of March, end of April.
It's going to be all hands on deck if we're going to make this work. They are in serious financial straits, you know. They're mortgaged to the hilts. They've got huge amounts of upkeep, potentially huge maintenance problems. And at the moment, I can't quite see a way out of it.
With the castle in dire financial straits and just 6 months to reverse its fortunes, Simon must find a solution for Crawfordland quickly.
Your financial situation is perilous.
But he's only just scratched the surface.
This is where the romance of owning this castle ends. The place is an absolute mess.
Crawfordland, in a remote corner of southwest Scotland, has been the Crawford family seat since 1245. And, less than 3 weeks ago, the 28th Laird, Simon Crawford, and his wife Aditi moved from their modest 1950s cottage to this 14th century castle in a bid to try and save its wealth of heritage. While the original tower house is thought to date back to the 1300s, the main part of the house was added in the 16th century. The final additions, including the Gothic facade, were made in 1850 by Simon's great-great-grandfather, William Hewson Crawford. After 800 years here, the Crawfords hold a remarkable place in Scottish history. As well as connections to William Wallace and Mary Queen of Scots, in the 1400s, Jock Hewson, a Crawford ancestor, saved the life of James II of Scotland. This forged a link between the Crawfords and the royal family, which survives to this day. Ever since, any monarch visiting Scotland for the first time has their hands washed by the current Laird of Crawfordland using a silver jug and bowl. Despite its illustrious history, Crawfordland remains largely unknown to the outside world. It has a mounting repair bill of over £100,000 and costs £30,000 a year to run.
People do assume that because you're living in a castle, you're really rich, etc. No, we're not rich. In India, we have a saying, I think there's a similar saying here actually, loads of land and no cash.
With only 6 months to turn it from a crumbling relic into a thriving business before their money runs out, the Crawfords have called in entrepreneur Simon Davis to unlock its hidden potential. Simon has spent the night in the half of the house which the Crawfords hope to run as a self-catering holiday let.
Well, you can see it's a pretty fabulous room here, huge vaulted ceilings, and it's a pretty amazing bedroom. Very grand, and a real sense of feeling like you're staying in a castle, which is a real treat.
With half a castle to himself, Simon sets off to explore. This side of the property is built around the original 14th century tower, and at its heart lies a stone spiral staircase which leads him to a hidden gem with huge potential for extra accommodation.
Just brilliant coming up those stone spiral staircases. Really gives you a sense of being in a castle, and we're at the top here and you can see all the castellations outside. It's a real sort of famous five feel. This room at the moment is a complete tip, obviously, but that can be sorted out. This is a great potential space and they need to do something with it and make it earn money.
Self-catering guests will have the use of the Tower House's dining room, which is where Simon makes another important discovery.
There are just oodles of these family portraits around this house, but they all seem to be all over the place. It's a bit of a hodgepodge. This one up here on the right-hand side, it says it's painted by Rayburn. Now, you know, he's a preeminent artist. But here it is, stuck in a corner of this room. It's pretty dirty. The frame is completely knackered. And really, it's looking after, and it really needs to be seen by people.
But at Crawfordland, it seems that for every treasure, there is a hidden horror.
This is where the romance of owning this castle ends. I've just come up one of the stone spiral staircases and the place is an absolute mess. It looks like it's completely falling down. I'm not even going to go through there, because if I fall through that roof, I'm going to go arse over tit through King Charles I's ceiling, and that will not go down very well.
Despite the castle's fragile state of repair and the financial burden it carries, Simon Crawford has no regrets about bringing his family to live here.
For me, it's coming home. And that's been one of my inspirations of wanting to be here. And to bring the girls home, so that they can enjoy the castle and the surroundings the way I did as a child.
For Aditi, who got engaged and married at Crawfordland, the emotional pull may be strong, but with only 6 months until their money runs out, she's feeling the pressure.
I think what scares me the most is how much money is it going to take to keep it going.
You seem to be, through your job, financing quite a lot of the situations in here, so there's a lot of pressure on you for that. Do you sometimes sort of think, is this going to be too much for me?
Yeah, sometimes I do, and I just think, oh, what have I done to deserve this? But I think the one thing Simon and I have in common is we're both fighters and we're both drivers, and we just keep going and keep going and keep going.
Crawfordland is just 30 miles from Glasgow, but the problem is it remains largely unknown to visitors. Although the 600-acre estate makes a small income from a trout fishery and mountain bike trails, with his track record of unconventional business solutions, Simon has hit on a money-making idea to put Crawfordland on the map, which capitalises on its natural resources: land, inclement weather and mud.
Thanks very much, Kester, for joining me down this grisly day.
Simon's invited Kester Wilkinson, whose company specialises in extreme endurance races, to come to Crawfordland in the hope that it is suitable for the latest sporting craze of mud running.
Up my understanding, it's cross-country running, but with these extra obstacles, and you get absolutely filthy.
Essentially, in a nutshell, it's developed, particularly in the States over the last few years, where people will run 8, 10 miles, and within that run will be some really muddy, boggy pits and perhaps some obstacles that people will struggle through.
You had a chance to have a look around to see if this is a potential site?
I have had a look. I mean, it's got a good mix of terrain. And you've got a river and a really nasty swamp.
Yeah, I just noticed all that bog over there as well. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty horrible.
This is what they want.
Yes, exactly.
That's what they pay for. What about money?
You're not exposing yourself to a big upfront financial cost, other than the hard graft to get the course right, to get the obstacles right, and your initial marketing.
Now, the more I think about it, the more I think it's time to get muddy here.
Having gathered all the information he needs, Simon is ready to deliver his business plan to help safeguard the future of Crawfordland.
You've only been here 2.5 weeks. Yeah. Appreciate that. But I think it's going to be a very short honeymoon period. Your financial situation is perilous.
Simon thinks that what will save Crawfordland is not just a run-of-the-mill self-catering holiday let, but something that only the 28th Laird can offer.
For me, one of the most compelling things that I've taken from visiting here is the history. It has far, far more history than your average self-catering accommodation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my view, you could create something quite unique by bringing together this compelling history with the self-catering to create a sort of historic self-catering operation. So how do you go about doing that? My view is the drawing room is the best room on that side of the house. I would like to see that become an epicentre for all the most important historical artefacts you have here. In essence, a living museum for Crawfordland. Right. So when people come and stay and they can see all the best things that you've got, I think it will be a real selling point.
As well as unleashing Crawfordland's hidden history, Simon wants to make the most of the quirkiness that the Tower House could offer.
I think that wonderful crow's nest room up in the roof, up the spiral staircase. And I think you should look to convert that into a room where children can stay, like a little children's dormitory. Not only will that give you extra accommodation, but it's quite a good marketing tool. Were we to really push that heritage side, then rooms that you currently charge at £1,500 a week could realise 3,000. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Think of an American who's coming over here and he's staying in an 800-year-old castle and the Laird still lives next door.
Yeah.
He'll pay £3,000 a week with his friends.
Yeah.
With a neighbouring castle attracting nearly 1 million visitors every year, Simon must find a way to put this unknown treasure on the tourist map. Inspired by what the estate has in abundance, he's come up with a clever marketing strategy.
My idea is that we run an event such as mud running. I don't know if you know about mud running.
Sounds
the
fun.
clue's in the title, essentially. It's a sort of turbocharged cross-country. You can have 500, 1,000, up to 5,000 people taking part in these sort of races. If we charge £50 and have 1,000 people taking part, that's £50,000 of revenue. That's good money.
I'd never even heard of it. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah. You have a lot of mud.
Yes.
Simon will return in a few weeks when he will put the Crawfords' hospitality skills to the test by getting them to host a trial dinner that must impress some of Scotland's most influential tourism experts.
Having Simon's next visit already looming on us, it gives a real impetus of let's buckle down to it. I've got a new project that needs doing, and it needs doing now, because if we don't deal with it now, we're going to be in trouble.
Girls, go and help Daddy, please.
What can I do? Put the big box down.
Fired up by Simon's idea of creating a mini Crawfordland museum in the Tower House, the Crawfords start a treasure hunt for interesting artefacts.
We've got this silverware. That's an obvious object to have somewhere, isn't it? You hold the pretty bowl.
Wow, Indra.
So we put those two in the cabinet.
Yeah.
The silverware used for royal hand-washing ceremonies is the first item to go into the Crawfordland Museum.
Great picture, that one.
And whilst hunting through the family archives, Simon has even found a handwritten poem by the celebrated 18th century Scottish poet Robert Burns.
To kind of touch and hold a piece of paper that was originally written on by Robert Burns is phenomenal.
Wanting the Crawfords to understand that history sells, Simon is sending them away from Crawfordland to the Tower of Holbar. This 16th century defence tower in the Clyde Valley has capitalised on its history and created an original holiday let.
Hello, welcome to Holbar. So come through. It's one room a floor, but do be careful of the tight staircase.
This house may sleep only 7 people, less than the capacity of Crawfordland. but its historic charm means that guests are willing to pay up to £1,200 a week.
And then through into the Great Hall. It's not that great in scale, but
Wow.
This is the main living room of the castle. So if we come through yet another flight of stairs.
My goodness.
So we're now reaching the top of the tower, and you come outside onto the parapet, and then go in to the double bedroom, up in the garrets.
The garrets? That's the correct word. That's what we should call it.
Yes, the garret.
The garret.
It's the largest bedroom, although you have to go outside to get to it. But it's quite a long way to the loo. And of course, you then have the other door onto the other parapet walk.
Oh,
And
wow.
here, isn't it wonderful? So that is Hall Bar.
Inspired by their visit to the Tower of Holbar, the Crawfords get straight to work on their own self-catering tower house.
We've done some decorating the house, kitchen, dining room and the stairs. That was involved taking all the pictures down.
Cleaning the frames.
And then we cleaned all the frames while they were down.
It's one of the ladies of Crawfordland, Alicia. Careful. I think it's about right.
Another job done.
And with the transformation of the hallway complete, Simon starts to clear out their garret to create a children's dormitory for family holidays. But when Simon Davis returns, will a trial mud run prove to be a step too far? And will he find the Crawfords' hospitality skills lacking?
Follow me.
When they host a dinner for some of the country's most influential tourism experts.
You can have a wonderful house, and if the people are very boring, then
no pressure.
Then forget it.
It's January, and at Crawfordland, Simon and Aditi have only enough money to last until the tourist season begins in April. So it's crucial that they have their historic self-catering operation open in time. With no margin for error, businessman Simon Davis is returning to Scotland to make sure they're on schedule.
So this is one of our big changes.
I can see you've changed the colour.
Do you like?
Well, I like it because it's much, much lighter.
Yes.
And gives much more sense of space, and it shows off the paintings much better. I'm not a huge peach fan, personally, but I think it's a marked improvement on what you had before.
Although the redevelopment of the self-catering is making good progress, the castle's biggest problem is that it's hidden away from the outside world. Simon Davis has suggested hosting a mud running event that should draw in visitors and show off what Crawfordland has to offer. With the first mud running event scheduled for just 2 months' time, Simon wants to ensure that the course is absolutely right.
So what's the form? What are we going to do?
Events organiser Kester Wilkinson has returned to lead the way.
Okay. And how long would it usually be?
Well, this course we're going to look at is about 10k. But
10k? We're not doing that now, are we?
Oh, we'll do most of it.
I'm being beaten by a three-legged dog at the moment. It's not good luck. We're the guinea pigs, basically.
Simon Davis wants this to become a regular event at Crawfordland. Although their first one may only attract a small crowd, an established mud running event could raise up to £50,000 in ticket sales.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, Jesus.
Told you it was funny in here.
Whoa.
I've lost my shoe.
You lost your shoe.
Lost my bloody shoe already.
So what do you think of the course?
Yeah, I mean, you can't run through mud like that the whole way.
No.
But coming down onto the field, onto the river and then up, it's just really lovely. And you want people to have a nice cross-country run. You don't want them to have a miserable time, so you want them to show them all the estate has got, really.
Is it a good idea to wear trousers?
Well, I'd start with doing up your shoelaces.
I think that's too deep, don't you?
Through that.
Oh.
While Simon hopes that mud running will put the estate on the map, his plan to get the castle to make money is to put a new spin on the self-catering holiday experience. He wants the Crawfords to make a feature of the castle's extraordinary history. On his last visit, Simon unearthed a painting said to be by the eminent 18th century artist Raeburn.
I've taken the Raeburn off the wall so we can have a good look at it on an easel upstairs.
Oh, brilliant.
He's invited James Holloway, director of the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, to verify its authenticity.
So James, tell us a little bit about Raeburn.
Well, he was the sort of preeminent portrait painter in Scotland in the sort of 1790s, right up to his death in 1823. He painted really the great and the good of Scotland in the early years of the 19th century. He's a fabulous painter.
Mm.
And
is this a Raeburn?
Golly, can I look at it with a torch?
Of course, yeah.
What are you looking for when you're doing that, James?
Looking at the quality of the painting of the eyes to see how good it is. There were one or two Raeburn imitators who were not nearly as good, and things like the eyes sort of just give you a little idea. Raeburn was really deft with his use of paint, and just little flicks just animate everything.
And is it a Raeburn?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is?
No, it's very nicely observed.
To relief.
Yes, yes. It's so nice to come into a house like this, which has such fantastic rich history. You just look round the walls and the family's here. It doesn't mean that they're all by the greatest artists of their time. Yeah. I'm rather fond of her because I love that sort of matron's cap of about sort of 1705, 1710. We're looking at Scotland about the time of the union with England. It's when Queen Anne was on the throne. Great frame, you know, it's all original. I mean, that's something that really sort of thrills me. See something like that in a house like this, it makes sense here.
But such a treasure trove is useless when it's completely unknown to the outside world. So tonight, to show off the castle's history and test the Crawfords' fledgling hospitality skills, Simon wants them to host a dinner for some of the most influential figures in Scottish tourism, with the Laird sharing some of his wealth of historical knowledge.
I think Lisa and I both like to kind of fly slightly by the seat of our pants, so that's probably the way tonight will go, and hopefully it will be successful.
As it's the 25th of January, the Crawfords have made the bold decision to host the first ever Indian-themed Burns Night dinner.
I'm trying to get the last bits of the starter ready. I have no idea what I'm going to wear. What colour would Drabby Burns wear? What colour is he associated with? Yes, it's going to be interesting. I'm panicking, that's why I'm rabbiting. We need to move the dogs' beds from just outside the dining room.
In addition to tourism representatives, the evening's guests include Alistair Sauday, one of Britain's most influential authorities on places to stay. His opinion can make or break the reputation of any establishment. The success of the night will depend on the Laird's portrayal of the castle's unique history.
Crawfordland started its life in 1245, and we've had Crawfords living here virtually non-stop since then. And I hope that this evening you'll enjoy a good dinner, and I hope to also kind of retail some of the stories that go along with the ancestors that go back into Crawfordland. Follow me.
In your work, do you find that this is being done, this kind of Laird's dinner?
Yes, I mean,
things?
in our bed and breakfast books, for example, in Britain and France, you can find beautiful houses owned by lovely people who will engage with you in conversation over dinner. But the stories must be good ones, you know? I mean, any old story won't be enough. You can have a wonderful house, and if the people are very boring, then...
No pressure.
Then forget it.
In the kitchen, Aditi's struggling with her Indian take on the traditional Burns Night haggis.
They're ruined. I've never done this haggis pakora before. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
With the pakoras burnt, she needs to remake them all from scratch.
It's not easy, Aditi, it's not easy. Do you want me to start plating up the other elements of it, yeah? Make them round and I'll clear them. We'll clear that later.
Right, okay.
You take those. This is a very difficult exercise, but it's the best way to learn. If you just sit at the table and talk about how you should do it, you're not going to learn a thing. You've got to actually go out there and do it. So for that reason, I think it's brilliant.
After a delay of just 10 minutes, Aditi manages to serve her haggis pakoras, and the guests are none the wiser.
This is very, very good indeed. It is delicious. Yummy.
Encouraged by the success of the food, Simon overcomes his natural reticence to share his recently discovered Robert Burns poem.
In our research, we found a very exciting piece of paper, which is an original piece of writing by Robert Burns on its original piece of paper.
No. You having a song?
No, this is genuine. And it's an epitaph to a lady who has passed away. To be fair, I don't think she was the bonniest of lassies, and certainly when she died, she certainly wasn't. Here lies with death's old grizzle grim, Lincluden's ugly witch. Oh, death, what a taste have thou, can't lie with such a bitch. So, she wasn't, there we go.
That's a remarkable find.
It was a fantastic find.
They are in that cupboard down there.
As the evening draws to a close, Simon Davis takes the opportunity to ask the guests what they think of the Crawfords' first attempt at hospitality.
I think they're doing a really good job. I mean, I think Simon's they're a little bit nervous, obviously, with good reason. And once they warm up, I think they'll be much more easy.
I think we've got the history, we just haven't brought it to life.
Yeah.
I think that's the bit that's missing.
Putting it bluntly, at the moment, would this make the grade?
Not yet. No. I think the Indian connection is delightful. I think they just need to learn how to give it panache.
Before he heads back to London, Simon wants to make sure the Crawfords are still on course for the launch of their self-catering business in just 3 months' time.
Last night was a situation that was created to really push you to the limit. You've now experienced the coalface of hospitality. Do you think you've made the right choice?
No, I just hope that we can manage to get all the changes we want to do to the house through quickly, because if we don't get that done, then we're in the concern of kind of missing this year as a commercial year, which could be difficult for us financially to deal with.
Is it snowing?
It is snowing.
Yeah, it's coming down quite strong.
Well, I hope you're not going down the M74.
As spring comes to Crawfordland, Simon Crawford works tirelessly on the tower house, taking down the ceiling in the garret room, which will become a children's dormitory, and putting the finishing touches to the Crawfordland Museum display. In 24 hours' time, the gates will be thrown open to host Crawfordland's first ever mud running event, which Simon Davis believes will finally put the castle on the map. So the 28th Laird is hard at work clearing the 10-kilometre course. And Aditi and the girls are preparing goodie bags for the competitors, which include leaflets advertising the estate's businesses. Knowing this one event could be the turning point for Crawfordland's fortunes, Simon Davis is returning to make sure that the Crawfords are really making the most of its marketing potential.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the mud running event at Crawfordland, but I really hope that Simon and Aditi have cottoned on to the fact that the event needs to throw a spotlight on everything else that happens here. Hi, Aditi.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
T-shirts, not
Very
too
good
bad
to
as
see
well.
you. I'd love to see inside, see what you've been up to.
As the mud running preparations continue in the grounds, Aditi wants to show Simon the progress of the garret room in the self-catering tower house.
Wow, there's some serious work gone on in here, isn't there?
Yes, Simon took the ceiling down. He's taken the horse plaster walls down.
So Simon's done all this himself?
Yes. Sometimes we'd be thinking, we'd like to have done more, but I think when we're realistic about it, the fact the two of us are trying to do it together ourselves, I think we've done quite a lot.
Well, this might look like it's completely and utterly dishevelled, but actually I can see a hell of a lot of work's been done. And this will be the children's dorm, essentially, for when people come for the self-catering.
Yeah.
It'd be great up here, it'd be fantastic.
You know, big bean bag and TV in the corner, etc., etc.
It's great.
But as Crawfordland is about to be opened to the public for the first time in its 800-year history, Simon has found out that the Crawfords are throwing away this huge marketing opportunity by not inviting the visitors into the Tower House to show off the historic self-catering business they've created.
What you don't want is 100 people coming here and leaving here and none of them knowing that you're going to be offering self-catering. That would be insane. I know you're reticent about it, Simon.
I am, because I don't feel that we've got as far as I'd like to have got. When we set out the beginning of this journey with you, I had hoped by the end of it we would be a lot further forward than we are.
Well, I think you're giving yourself a tough time.
Well, maybe, but that's part of my own
Well,
critique.
I think you should give yourself a break, Simon, frankly, because I think you've done a fantastic job. And I think you should show off a bit about it. I don't think you should be ashamed and say we haven't done as much as we expected to do. Those people won't realise that. Be proud of what you've achieved so far, the fact that you're introducing them to this potential new business, and you've got this captive audience. And that was the point of doing the mud running. Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Simon?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of maximising marketing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
OK, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
After 5 months of planning and hard work, the Crawfords have done all they can. Now, they can only wait and see if it will all have been worth it.
So is this where everyone registers?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then they can come in, and we have that door ajar a bit, and we can see the window. And good. Well, that's the people who started to arrive, actually. Runners are starting to come, so great. Hi there, you all checked in?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. How far have you come today?
354 miles.
354 miles. Hi there, everyone. Hi there, you all ready?
Yeah.
You ready for the off?
Yeah.
Well, I've been round the course here, you're going to get filthy.
Okay.
Fantastic turnout.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. It's really just so exciting.
It's brilliant. Fantastic.
On the start line, which
I think you're going to be ready for the off in a minute. Good. Best of luck on the run.
Ready to go.
All right. I'll be cheering you on.
Cheers.
Take care.
We're very grateful today. I mean, thank you for coming to our first Mud Runner Equinox in Scotland. Have a good time.
Go on the lad.
With a final turnout of over 100 runners, Crawfordland has made a name for itself as an exciting destination.
Well done.
And the event has generated over £2,000 in ticket sales.
Well done, Alex. Well done, Simon.
Absolutely dead. That was insane.
Well done, you're the winner. That's all right. How was it?
Pretty tough.
You do it again?
Definitely come back, get all my friends to come do it and see them suffer as well.
That's what we want to hear. Will you be back to do the next mud run?
Yep, definitely.
Excellent.
I beat my grandpa as well.
Oh, you're a wee liar.
Enjoy that?
Oh, tremendous.
Good. You do the next one then?
Oh, aye, definitely. That was tremendous.
Thanks, girls. Thank you very much. Come in tight. Well done. Well done. Oh, God. Great. Everyone seems to be having a very amusing time. It's brilliant, actually. I haven't fully immersed myself in the mud run, but I've got involved in the fun bit afterwards.
so come on in.
Buoyed by the success of the mud run, Simon Crawford proudly shows off the self-catering tower house as a work in progress, including the new Crawfordland Museum.
This is our most notable painting. It's by a guy called William Rayburn. When I mentioned the King James Association, this silverware was used to carry out that ceremony for King George IV in 1822.
After 5 months of collaboration with Simon Davis, the Crawfords have their first self-catering bookings, and the next mud run is already scheduled for the autumn. Simon's ideas have the potential to generate an additional £45,000 of turnover in the next year. And, with only a month to go before their deadline, the extra revenue will give them the breathing space they need to continue their renovations.
Today we've had this fantastic event where we've had 150, 200 people in here, and you've taken over £2,000 in ticket sales. Now, I know it's just a start, but what a fantastic start. Did you enjoy the day, Simon?
Loved it, loved it. I've loved it from start to finish. Seeing the house transformed into a venue for an event was fantastic. The thing I think I've really learned over the last few months is how much people appreciate Crawfordland and what it has to offer and the history and the house, which for me is big. It's a big thing.
I think the fear is that there's an image of people who live in houses like this, the aristocracy, you know, that they think it's their God-given right, So we almost kind of pull back because you think, well, if we talk about it, people might think that we're these pompous people.
But I don't think you're, you know, of all the people that I've met who've lived in houses such as yours, you're the least pompous, the least grand. And I think that came across today.
Yeah.
There was no us and them. And I think, actually, you know, we live in a time now, in a society now, where if you're going to make a success of Crawfordland, if there was an us and them, it's going to fail. You've achieved what we've achieved here in 5 months. Yeah. Imagine what you can do in 5 years. I'm so impressed that Simon and Aditi had the courage to take on Crawfordland Castle. So many people wouldn't have done. I've every confidence that this home will be in the Crawford family for another 800 years.
Bantry House in County Cork is one of the most important country houses in Anglo-Irish history. Sophie Shelswell-White and her partner Josh have had to sacrifice their life in Australia to take over the running of her family home from her parents, Egerton and Brigitte.
Mum and Dad are very proud of what they've achieved, but no, I don't want to be in the same situation 30 years from now.
With debts of nearly £800,000 and falling visitor numbers, the future of Bantry House and its remarkable collection of precious artefacts is in jeopardy.
It's endless.
Every day something new springs up.
Even with your best laid plans,
Yeah.
you know, something comes up that you're not prepared for.
Can entrepreneur Simon Davis convince duty-bound daughter Sophie to embrace new business ideas?
And how much are you charging them?
I'm not charging them.
Right.
Before Bantry House and its important history are lost forever.
It's literally falling apart at the seams.
You could easily put a pop-up restaurant in here, but there's a lot of work to do.
My vision of it is that someone had come in and pop it up for us.
Bantry House in County Cork, South West Ireland, has been in the Shelswell-White family for over 300 years. The current residents, Egerton and Brigitte, have worked for the last 30 years to keep the house standing and have built up the business with house and garden tours, a tea room and bed and breakfast.
Previous generations have struggled with it, and it's a challenge. We felt that it was a challenge worth rising to.
When I got married, it never occurred to me that it should be sold. So once you get into that mindset, somehow that it has to be preserved, whatever.
But in his late 70s and unwell, Egerton felt that he and Brigitte could no longer carry on being the sole caretakers. So 3 years ago, at a family summit, it was decided that it was time the next generation took over. And it was Sophie, the eldest of their 4 children, who stepped forward to take the reins.
It was always somewhere in my mind that I would come home. Yeah, absolutely. And with Dad becoming ill and things like that, it came home to me more that I needed to be here.
You see, she's lovely and she's gentle, but there's steel. There's a strength there, which is good, because she'll need that.
While her parents still live in part of the house, Sophie and her partner Josh have moved back from Australia to live nearby with their young son and to take over the running of Bantry. But the faltering tourist economy has meant that visitor numbers have dropped from 60,000 to just 28,000 a year over the last decade, while increasing maintenance bills have led them further and further into debt.
There's the brickwork all around the house.
Yep.
Occasionally you would have little bits that come off. That would be a huge job there.
I think both the lodges on either side of the building are in various states of decay.
You could just go on and on.
But with strong emotions tied up in this historic building, Sophie is determined not to fail.
It's been 300 years in our family. I don't think I could be the generation to give it up.
If they can't turn their struggling fortunes around, they will be forced to sell. So entrepreneur Simon Davis must show them how to revitalise the business and save an important piece of Anglo-Irish history.
The west of Ireland is majestic, but it's also incredibly remote. And that makes running a business very tricky. There are loads of country houses in Ireland, and to make yours make money, you've really got to make it stand out from the crowd.
Bantry House and its namesake town sit on the edge of the famous Bantry Bay, which is renowned for its mussels and other seafood. While there was once a vast estate of 80,000 acres, almost all of the land has been sold over the years to pay off some of their debts, leaving the house with barely 100 acres. But with the banks unwilling to lend them any more money, they are desperate for Simon's expertise.
How do you do? Simon Davis.
Hello.
And Josh.
Hi. Good
Josh,
to meet you.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Good.
Phenomenal view.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Phenomenal.
We're very lucky.
You must never tire of it.
No, we don't. Even on a day like today, it's beautiful.
Very impressive and grand and imposing.
Away from the major tourist routes, the family choose to open the house to the public for only 7 months of the year.
I feel we're being stared at quite a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that every day.
Are these all your ancestors, right?
They are,
And
yeah.
how many generations have you been here?
10 generations. I'm the 10th generation and my son would be the 11th.
Now, amongst 11 generations, there must have been some pretty serious characters.
Yeah.
Who are the ones who are really stand out as the big family figures?
Well, the second Earl of Bantry, Richard White, he's the bust over there, he travelled a lot during the early 1800s, during the Grand Tour, and he would have collected nearly all the content that's in the house now.
But the titles in the family have now gone, haven't they? Is that correct?
Sadly, yes.
So you're no longer...
I'm not a lady.
No. So the titles have gone, the money has largely gone,
Yeah.
but the house and its beautiful contents and your passion remains.
Absolutely. This is the Rose drawing room.
Incredibly grand.
A large collection of treasures, including 15th century Russian icons, fine carpets and rare porcelain, were collected by the second Earl during his travels in the 19th century.
And what happens through here?
This is the Gobelin drawing room.
Sadly, despite their pride in this important collection, mounting debts and overheads have forced the family to take drastic steps.
We have had to sell furniture in the past, to keep the maintenance going.
What has been sold?
This would break my parents' heart to me say, you know, dining room table had to go, mirrors. There are hooks on the wall with nothing on them. I mean, it's quite clear what's happened.
Yes, and I suppose there is that irony that if you sell things, there's less of a reason for people to come, to visit.
Yeah, and the big ticket things are the things that would get the most money, but then what are people going to look at when they come in the door, you know, so...
Yeah. I mean, this tapestry here is phenomenal. I mean, that must be worth 30,000, 40,000 odd.
Well, exactly, yeah.
What would you say to those people who said, well, stop whinging about not having any money, sell the tapestry?
Maybe I'm too emotional about it, yeah, who knows?
Money is particularly tight at Bantry. Any profit goes towards ongoing maintenance and servicing the £800,000 debt. Josh, an accountant, has taken over the financial running of the house, and over the last 2 years the couple have concentrated on cost cutting. They have also chosen to continue the businesses set up by Sophie's parents, rather than risk starting new enterprises that might bring in more visitors and more money.
They started all of it many years ago, you know, so as yet we haven't really changed tack from that. And I don't know if we will massively either, because it could be a product that works really well.
It's more fine-tuning, I think, that we've been able to do to the business
Tweaking.
so far.
The B&B accommodation housed in the east wing of the house is well organised and profitable. Simon will be staying in one of the rooms to provide inspiration for his business plan.
So what's your occupancy at the moment?
60%.
60%, and you're pleased with that?
I'm pleased, but it could be better.
But you're open all year round for the rooms?
No, we don't. We close those in the winter as well.
So for 5 months you can't stay here? Is that
you
right?
can't,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is my room?
This is your room.
This is it? Well, it's very nicely done up.
Thank you.
A good size. And how much would this room cost?
90 per person.
And why the per person and not the per room? That's very unusual.
It's something we inherited. It's something...
It's just always been that way.
It's always been per person, yeah.
By sticking with the past and limiting the number of months that they are open, Sophie and Josh are dramatically reducing their opportunities to generate the significant sums of money that will help Bantry House get out of debt.
This really is a beautiful place, and part of me can see why Sophie and Josh gave up everything to move back here and run it. But it's a vast house, and there's no money in the coffers. It's a massive undertaking for a young family.
While Simon is impressed with his room, a look around finds the communal areas in a less pristine state.
Billiard room here is very elegant. Problem is, as a guest who's paying upwards of £100 a night to stay here, you don't expect to see paint peeling off the walls and plaster falling about the place.
Should I put this on the table?
To find out more about the family and their financial situation, Simon is having dinner in Egerton and Brigitte's apartment in the main house, where Sophie and her siblings grew up.
Hello. 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 I almost got lost. I followed my nose. How do you do, Simon Davis? How do you do? You've just taken on an enormous project here, albeit with the support of your parents. What ideas would you like to implement here?
Well, endless. To begin with, just sort out this debt that's hanging over us.
Right, which is nearly a million euros.
Close to, running up that way.
And Sophie must rise to this challenge if she is to avoid the same heartbreaking circumstances that faced her parents.
You don't know how absolutely desperate our situation was 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, tell me, how desperate was it?
Awful. We didn't know how to pay anything.
We were certainly open to offers from developers, from hoteliers and things, either for an outright sale or to go into partnership with them.
We just thought, well, if none of the children want it, it gets sold. And even if the market is bad, it will still be sold. We were in a very, very difficult situation.
You do have a beautiful house here with some really, despite the fact that you sadly had to sell off some of them, there are still some beautiful things in this house. And you do have a wonderful garden and a phenomenal view, but I think the frank reality is there are quite a number of beautiful houses with lovely gardens and wonderful views that are more accessible. If it actually, despite all your efforts, would you eventually, if it just got too much, Sell?
I don't know. I don't know.
The important decisions here have been made with the heart. Now, 3 years ago, this house came that close to being sold. My biggest worry now is that for the younger generation, unless they start making some significant new decisions, then that threat may be posed again.
Bantry House, in a remote corner of southwest Ireland, has been home to the Shelswell Whites since 1765. The family were granted an earldom and thousands of acres of land after their part in seeing off a French armada in 1796, when Ireland was under British rule. During the 19th century, the second Earl added the library and the wings to the house, as well as laying out the gardens, which included the 100 steps and the 2 stable yards. He filled the house with beautiful artworks and furniture collected on his grand tour of Europe. But those glory days are long gone, and nearly all of the lands and some of the most precious artifacts have had to be sold off. For the last 34 years, the house has been lived in by Brigitte and Egerton, but 3 years ago their eldest daughter, Sophie, agreed to move back from Australia with her partner Josh and young son Jacob to take over the running of the house.
We want to make this a sustainable business that we can be proud of, and Mum and Dad are very proud of what they've achieved in 30 years, and I want to carry that forward, but even more so.
Battling falling visitor numbers, urgently needed renovations and mounting debts, the couple have asked businessman Simon Davis to find a solution to their problems. He spent the night in the bed and breakfast accommodation that is usually only available during the summer months.
Well, they've done a really impressive job on the B&B, actually. The thing that still mystifies me, though, is, you know, yes, we're in the off-season here, but I'm sure there are people who would still want to come here, and yet I'm the only person here, which is slightly ludicrous, if slightly spoiling.
Simon's exploration of the formal rooms reveals a more worrying concern.
For me, this room so encapsulates the sad reality for houses such as these. It looks so wonderful and opulent. All these great paintings and artworks and porcelain that were purchased by the second Earl on his grand tour. But I'm afraid if you look a little bit closer, a lot of this architrave and cornice work is all falling away. And if you look here, this wallpaper, I mean, it's literally, in fact, not just the wallpaper, this whole wall is, look at that. Push it too much, but I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, the perilous state that this house is in.
Having spent over 30 years of his life working to save the house, Simon wants to hear how Egerton feels about Sophie and Josh taking over the management of Bantry.
I got a real sense last night when we were having supper, a real sense of the commitment that you and your wife have put into the house. Do you feel that Sophie and Josh, they've got that real passion and commitment?
Oh, I think they do. But I think neither she nor Josh probably realised how much sort of daily nitty-gritty there was to do, you know. It's very difficult to know when you're interfering with them or when you're helping them. You want to be in the background helping, but on the other hand, you feel if you say too much, you're implying at least criticism of some kind.
It's becoming clear how delicate the handover of responsibility has been for the family, and how much they have each had to sacrifice to keep this historic property standing.
You know, we're walking up these magnificent 100 steps, and it's absolutely torrential rain in wonderful West Irish fashion. Do you ever think, what the hell have I got myself into? I could be on a beach in Tasmania with my little boy and with Josh.
I suppose you have days. You have days.
Yeah.
This, funny enough, isn't one of them. But no, I mean, you make a commitment, and I've weighed up that before I came home.
Yeah.
You know.
Whoa. So this is the West Stable.
That's right. Yeah.
West Stable, no roof.
No roof.
As part of the tour of the estate, Sophie leads Simon to the near-derelict West Stable block, which has been given a small Heritage Council grant to prevent it decaying further.
So what do you see for the West Stables?
It could be a great space for some kind of farmer's market. There's heaps of local produce.
But as there's currently no money to fund such an ambitious project, Simon is becoming concerned that what drove Sophie to commit her future to Bantry was a sense of duty to her parents, and that she must now step out of their shadow and introduce new ideas if the house is to be saved.
Do you sometimes wish that someone else had put their hand up?
No. You can't expect everyone to drop everything and...
Well, you have.
I did, yeah, but I expected of myself. But the others are finding their feet and they're helping how they can.
And you're confident you weren't just led by your heart, essentially?
Probably a bit. Yeah, probably a bit. There's always that sense of duty that everyone talks about, but also a challenge. My parents needed the help and I wanted to do it.
Certain the business needs to find a new direction that will attract more visitors year-round, Simon heads to the fully restored East stables that have so far been left off his tour.
Well, it's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Although I'm slightly confused because Sophie showed me the West stables, which looked like a bomb had hit it, and there was no roof or walls, and she was full of enthusiasm for doing farmers' markets and all sorts of activity there. And yet she's got East stables which are in what appear to be quite good nick. I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
Several years ago, an outside body restored the East stables for use as a museum commemorating the attempted invasion of Bantry Bay by the French Armada. But the museum didn't get enough visitors and had to close. Although many of the displays remain, it is the infrastructure that makes Simon feel that this building represents a huge opportunity.
It's often the case that the obvious answers are right under your nose, but this East stable space here seems fantastically useful to me. It's got a roof, it's relatively dry, it's got electricity. I really think this has amazing potential to be a great indoor event space. Yes, you've got to clean it out a bit, but it's more graft than cash. I really think this could be brilliant.
With his research complete, Simon has asked the family to gather in the dining room so that he can lay out his business plan for their financial future.
One of the things I've really discovered from being here is that you are so led by your heart, particularly you three.
Yeah.
But hearts aren't very good at making pragmatic, big decisions.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Simon wants to start by concentrating on an area of the existing business that the family do well, but that he believes should be generating even more revenue.
The B&B is great and it works. One thing that I do think is imperative is to increase the number of nights that people can stay and make it year-round. Yeah. Now, it might not be 365 days a year, but I do believe closing for 5 months is foolish. And I also think you've got to stop charging per person and charge per room to come into line with everyone else.
Achieving just 25% occupancy of the B&B during the winter would bring in an extra £25,000 of revenue. However, with £800,000 of debt hanging over the property, it's clear that there is currently little money to spare for the huge number of structural and cosmetic renovations needed. But Simon is concerned that Sophie and Josh's attempts to balance the books may go too far and actually harm the business.
I don't think there can be any more cost cut, but it started to seem to me that you were cost cutting in areas where perhaps you should be spending. Take the billiard room, for example. Now, that is a place where people are going who are spending quite a significant sum to come and stay, and there's paint peeling from the walls, and there's plaster coming off. Now, those things, that is where you should be investing the money, because you only need to see just the smallest bit of paint peeling, and you start to think, as a guest, well, hold on a minute, you know, they're letting the end go here.
Although Brigitte and Egerton have done an impressive job of keeping the house open to the public, the falling visitor numbers mean that Simon wants Sophie and Josh to concentrate on new areas of business. He wants them to run specific events during the off-season that make use of somewhere with clear money-making potential.
the West Stables, which we went to earlier, I think it's a pipe dream, really, the West Stables. But the East Stables, as far as I can see, is a wasted area. I had a snoop around there earlier on today, and with a lot of graft and not too much money, that could become a very good indoor event space. You know, it's got a roof on it, it's got electricity, you've got that wonderful central area for a potential farmer's market. You know, we all know that this part of Ireland has really garnered quite a good reputation now for food, and it could be a small little film festival, some more music, some theatre. Create a space that's open all year round so that the locals and people from further afield can come there, and it's not in the house. So you can still, if you don't want to open the house to the public all year, have a place that people can still come.
With his experience as a restaurant consultant and the surrounding area's strong reputation for fish and other foodstuffs, Simon believes that the cleared-out East Stables would be the perfect setting for a temporary restaurant, which would help market Bantry House to a wider audience.
Let's say you did a pop-up restaurant with a decent name, Chef, that garnered quite a lot of marketing and PR, and maybe it ran for 2 or 3 nights, 80 covers a night. People would come, enjoy this chef and its local produce, stay in the house. You'd bring new people to the house who would potentially repeat customers. It doesn't necessarily have to be a massive expense, and it doesn't mean that when you open it's an all-singing, all-dancing, super-duper world's greatest restaurant. I mean, I'm not suggesting that.
Pop-up restaurants are a recent trend that have garnered lots of press attention. While Simon will help provide a big-name chef, he wants Sophie and Josh to run the restaurant, so they will have to clear out the stables and arrange the catering equipment and ingredients. This first event will be for 1 night only, but extended to 4 sittings every month, it could turn over £200,000 a year.
I really want to help you prove that it can be successful, because I firmly believe that it can be, and if we get a good example of one working, then hopefully it will set you on the road to doing it in the years to come.
We've heard so many comments in our 30 years here and so many criticisms. At least those were constructive.
We particularly liked the idea of doing small things, such as the billiard room, which would show that we were at least making a start on all the myriad things that had to be done.
Obviously, the East Stables, we know full well that there's a huge potential there. And we think of many different ideas in there, and we'd love something to be up there for sure.
I love the idea of that pop-up restaurant, but implementing it is always where we...
Implementing and knowing
and
someone who knows somebody who can help us
the link.
Do that would be really beneficial.
Yeah.
It's February, and Bantry House in southwest Ireland is closed for the winter. In the house, Sophie Shelswell-White has asked some builders to assess the damage to the walls in the billiard room, as Simon Davis suggested.
We've had this problem for years over and over again, and we would patch it, paint over it again, and then it comes back the next year.
But convinced that an all-year-round event space in the East Stables will be the key to reviving their fortunes, Simon has arranged a research trip for Sophie and her mother Brigitte to Ballymaloe, a world-renowned cookery school, restaurant and B&B located in a country house a half-hour's drive outside Cork. It's open all year, hosting around 10 different events a month.
Oh, hello. Hi.
Hello.
You're really welcome. Well, thanks for coming down. Great.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
Sophie and Brigitte have come to see their latest venture, a flexible event space, which is the brainchild of Rory Allen.
This is the grain store.
Look at it.
After an initial investment of £1.2 million, the grain store now accounts for 50% of Ballymaloe's business.
You must think of every possible opportunity that you can let it for.
It's wonderful.
The thing about the room is what this building has done. It has brought business to us in the off-season, which is absolutely wonderful. It's that people get married all the year round. The corporate things happen all year round. There's no seasonality in those. You have a concert here, or you have a corporate event here, you sell your bedrooms up there. And it keeps the place alive. It is very important to try and get 12 months, or at least 11 months out of the year.
He just really thought of everything. It's the fact that we're so seasonal that he manages to bring people here throughout the whole year that can then help the house fill their rooms, you know.
It's absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Without
Just get it
pretense.
right,
Yeah,
don't
it's
they?
wonderful. It's an inspiration.
Fired up by her trip to Ballymaloe, Sophie focuses her attention on the East Stables. Simon has asked her to organise a trial event to show the building's potential without spending very much money. So, with her partner Josh working in Australia, Sophie has arranged a craft fair for local artisans to coincide with Simon's next visit. But rather than clear out the space, the stalls are having to set up around the existing museum displays. 3 months since his last visit, Simon has returned to check on progress.
It's great that you're looking to utilise the East Stables some more, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
and how's it work financially?
They pay me per stall usually.
And how much are you charging them?
I'm not charging them very much for this one particularly.
How
but
much are you charging them, Sophie?
This one?
Yeah.
I'm not charging them.
Right. So you're not going to make any money?
No.
Simon hopes that his own plans for the East Stables will be useful for marketing and as a revenue earner.
Now, when I was here last time, I spoke about the possibility of doing a pop-up restaurant,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
temporary
yeah.
restaurant. I've managed to get Richard Corrigan,
Oh, awesome.
who is someone I hugely admire as a chef.
Yeah. And he's Irish.
obviously Irish,
Yeah.
Ireland's greatest chef as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's agreed
Get away.
to get involved and be the chef.
Really?
He's coming tomorrow for a recce, so we can work out
Brill.
how we're going to make it
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And then when we do the actual restaurant in the spring,
Yeah.
he's going to come down and cook.
How much fun. I can't wait.
Good.
What are we going to give him for lunch?
As Sophie is starting to develop new business ideas at Bantry, Simon wants to find out how supportive Brigitte is.
Hi, Brigitte. Hard at work?
Yes. Hello.
It's a mammoth task, isn't it? You've obviously been fundamental in running the house and looking after the house and the garden.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Sophie taking over some of those responsibilities? Because obviously it's something that's very dear to you.
Endlessly grateful, quite frankly, because it became very, very difficult for us.
What do you think of the ideas she's been having up in the East States?
Brilliant, whatever, you know, it's wonderful.
Is it going to be a triumphant craft fair?
Well, that I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be triumphant.
As the next day dawns, Simon wants to prove to Sophie that despite the rain, the East Stables is a practical event space that can be used all year round. Although she will make no money from today, the craft fair will show that Bantry House is open to new business.
Hello. Hello. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Spend lots of money.
And Simon also wants the stall holders to help him use today's event to show off the estate's best feature.
Hi there. Sorry to interrupt. We need to get rid of these bins, and if we've got a captive audience here, we need to let them see the house.
He's determined to build momentum for the pop-up restaurant that he wants Sophie to organise for his final visit.
See?
Oh, great.
Much better.
Fine, John.
And I know it's raining today, but I want people to
No,
come
I
through
see.
here
I
and
understand that totally. Yeah, I get that continuity.
have that.
In the midst of a busy craft fair, award-winning chef Richard Corrigan arrives to discuss plans for the East Stables' next event.
Thank you for coming down.
A big supporter of local
Thank you
produce,
very much.
he has agreed to front the first Bantry pop-up restaurant for free, but is visiting today to make sure that Sophie, who will have to provide the equipment and source the ingredients, is capable of organising it to a high standard.
So I was thinking, drinks in the library, bring everyone through the garden, up the steps and into the stables on the left.
What a fantastic journey.
Yeah, it'd be lovely for them, wouldn't it? And a great
Wow.
view to look at on the way through.
What a fantastic house.
A pop-up restaurant requires considerable organisation and becomes economically viable by being open for a number of days. Although this trial will be for one night only, Simon is determined that it won't lose money and will pay dividends by putting Bantry on the map outside its usual summer season.
So what do you think of the space, potentially?
It's a bit raw at the moment, but it has a good feeling. I like the flagstone floors, you know what I mean?
What sort of numbers do you reckon we could put in here, Richard?
I reckon 60 to 70 people. I was thinking 60 easy, but you could do 60, 70. I mean, you aren't going to try to run it as a revenue-generating exercise.
Yeah.
Look at that. Your eyes popped out of her head there that time. That's the first time I've seen you motivated, yeah?
I've been trying to impress upon Sophie the need to actually make some money.
Yeah, that's
so,
the only reason
this
I'm in
night,
it.
the night we do the pop-up with you, it's paying customers.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, it's a
absolutely.
money-making enterprise.
I feel very motivated when you come and see a beautiful house. I mean, a beautiful venue for a pop-up restaurant.
Yeah, it is.
But there's a lot to be done, Sophie.
Although the craft fair has shown that the space can be used successfully, Simon wants to make sure that Sophie is fully on board for the pop-up restaurant, which is due to happen in 8 weeks' time.
The important thing to remember is that the craft fair, and you made no money from that because you made the decision to not charge them. Make no mistake, the pop-up restaurant is for paying customers.
Yeah, great. I'd love to know how we're going to finance all of it.
There's going to be a modest cost for bringing in some stoves, but you always have to invest a little bit.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
But think about the other elements. The location, we've got. The chairs and the tables, we've got. What you need to do is clear that space out, start thinking about how you're going to market this fantastic event here. So even when you're selling some of the tickets for this event, offer a room for the night as well. Package it all up together.
Sounds very
Best of that's a lot of work to do, but I really feel confident that it can be a really fantastic evening and really help put you on the map.
But by early March, and with concerns over her father's health weighing her down, Sophie's optimism has given way to genuine doubt.
I'm overwhelmed by what we're all being asked to do when everyone knows what kind of a situation we're in.
Hoping that Richard Corrigan can provide much-needed reassurance, she phones him in London.
I'll be totally honest, I've never done anything like this before, so...
OK. What you don't need to do is run into huge costs. I would beg, borrow and steal everything. Glassware, crockery, negotiate the fees very hard. Do not go into debt on this.
Which I can't because I have nothing to put into it in the first place, so I'm a bit stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Hard work is a fantastic currency.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, good to talk to you. Thanks for taking it. Bye.
Unless Sophie and Josh can overcome this crisis of confidence, the success of Bantry's big night is in doubt.
We always thought that was a great idea, but my vision of it is that someone had come in and pop it up for us. And obviously we have to pop it up ourselves, and so that's the thing where we don't know how we're going to do that.
It's April, and at Bantry House, Sophie and Josh have turned a corner.
I was totally overwhelmed. But we sat down and we just said, well, now we're going to prove a point.
So we'll get this one out.
Yeah, is that going to go through the door?
The couple have finally knuckled down to clear out the east stables, making it suitable to host Bantry House's first ever pop-up restaurant.
Hello, Sophie.
How are you?
Nice to see
Thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome. I'm delighted you're using it.
Yeah, well, it'd be great.
To keep costs down, Simon and guest chef Richard Corrigan encouraged Sophie to pull in favours from all around Bantry.
So that's all the crockery and cutlery.
And our fish just arrived, so...
Oh,
they're alive!
And aware of the importance of Bantry House, the community has responded, selling valuable shellfish at cost price, supplying free food and lending professional catering equipment. Richard Corrigan and his team of 5 have flown over from London and are busy prepping in the kitchen. 2 months since his last visit, Simon has returned to see if they've risen to the challenge.
Tonight's a real test for Sophie and Josh. I really hope they don't waste this opportunity. It really is a fantastic one for them. And to throw it all away would be a real travesty. Hello. Bantry House pop-up restaurant.
How's about that?
Actually, looks like a restaurant.
It does, doesn't it?
It's exciting.
After a concerted marketing push, this first event has sold out.
And how many people are coming?
70.
7? So you sold out?
We sold out. Yeah,
Excellent.
6 tables in here and one on the link.
Sold out.
Flying it, yeah. At €100 a head.
So €100
Yeah.
all in, and you sold out at 70 covers.
Yeah, and then we have 4 couples coming for dinner and staying the night. And I gave them 10% off if they booked room with dinner, so.
Excellent. Yeah. So you pleased?
Delighted, yeah.
Hi, Chef.
Simon.
Good to see you. Happy?
I won't check it. Smoked salmon.
Excellent. How's the kitchen?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It works very well.
Good.
The locals come in with the fish. Blue lobsters, £1.50, maybe £1.75 blue lobsters. Beautiful local produce. So, are you going to be the wine waiter tonight?
Am I going to be the wine
Yeah.
writer? I'm going to be guzzling it. No.
First time in your life, isn't it?
Oh, back in the kitchen.
Delighted that Sophie has guests staying in the B&B and that they're being charged per room and not per person, Simon wants to check on the state of the decorations.
I'm really pleased to see that they've sorted out that plasterwork that was falling away from the walls. Now, they have paying guests staying here. It's important that this room looks the best that it can do.
Bantry House is looking its best. And with just 4 hours to go until the diners arrive, Sophie has roped in her siblings and friends to ensure the night is a success.
Great.
And although Egerton is ill and unable to attend, Brigitte makes an appearance to check on progress.
Are you proud of what they've
Oh,
achieved?
absolutely. I think they did wonderfully well.
It's a bit of a change, isn't it?
It's a bit of a change, and it was very stressful for them, I must say. Lots to do, but they did well. And we are very, very pleased, very happy.
The abandoned East Stables have been transformed from a failed museum into a professional restaurant, and Bantry House is ready to open its doors to an expectant public.
Hi, how are you? That's fine, I'll take that off you. Best of luck with Thank all. you, thanks very much. I'll just tick you off my list and tell you you're on table 4.
Drawn by the prospect of fine dining in this historic setting, the event has attracted locals and visitors from as far away as London.
Champagne, and we're just getting more bottles.
By starting the evening in the house, Sophie gets to show the guests some of the precious artifacts and furniture that make Bantry so important and worth saving.
Sophie's really getting into the role of the chatelaine, which is lovely to see. It's feeling like a really good start.
Behind the scenes in the temporary kitchen, Richard Corrigan is putting the finishing touches to his banquet of locally sourced produce.
Come on, boys, now. I feel pressure. I feel pressure. 10 minutes, sit down. Can we have spoons in the mayonnaise, please?
Dinner time, everyone.
Gentlemen, if we want to go out through the library.
In the tradition of pop-up restaurants, the guests are all seated together in an informal arrangement around large tables.
Beautiful, really, really, really exceptional.
But whilst the diners help themselves to the starters, in the kitchen, there's a problem. Richard and his team are struggling to poach the turbot for the main course.
The gas is freezing. It's freezing up, yeah? And it's been cutting out on us all day. Got to a point now where we're getting a bit stressed. Right. So we've asked Simon to sit in the connection. Like a good English boy abroad, yeah?
Well done. Taking one for the team.
Yeah.
This is the thing with pop-up kitchens. Anything can go wrong, and you've got to act very quickly. You've got 70 people out there who are waiting for their main course. And I think they've got it back going at the moment, so fingers crossed.
Richard's unorthodox make, do and mend technique has worked, and the main courses go out on time. With the wine and conversation flowing, what are the guests making of this first event in the revitalised East Stables?
If this is what a pop-up restaurant is, then I think they are great. Let's have more of them.
Great to see the house getting the support this evening, and it needs people to rally round to save these houses.
You're done, job done, Chad.
Should be very proud. Beautiful event, lovely support locally.
Yes, that's
Great
been
food.
that's been the great bounce at the back. Yeah, absolutely.
The fires are burning here. Everyone's still having a wonderful time at dinner inside. The food's been absolutely fantastic. Everyone's loved it. For those who haven't been to Bantry House before, it's a wonderful introduction. And for those who have been here before, it's welcoming them back in.
As Simon prepares to take his leave, he wants to find out from Brigitte how she feels about this next chapter of Bantry House's history.
What would you like to see in 5 years' time here?
What I want to see is that whoever runs it is happy with doing it and is fulfilling their potential in it.
And do you think Sophie is that person, Sophie and Josh?
Sophie and Josh, I think, are those people because they wanted to do it. But they have to be able to freely make decisions.
Well, as opposed to tiptoeing around.
Well, I really want them to take their time to find out which way they want to go and then go for it. And they will.
The pop-up restaurant has been a great success. Sophie is already in discussions with a local chef to run future events, and there are plans for more activities in the cleaned-out East Stables, including using it for wedding receptions and parties. Bantry House's future is looking a lot brighter.
Well, what a night.
What a night.
It was fantastic. But I hope you at least enjoyed it and enjoyed seeing all those people there.
And we did, and we learned a lot about how to run something like this. Like, neither of us would have had any experience.
Yep.
And I asked a lot of you to suddenly do it, and I thought you stepped up to the mark.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Good.
Josh, I know that you're the figures man and you've been keeping an eye on the numbers for the event last night.
Yep.
How did it shape up?
Income was approximately 7,000. That's with B&B as well. And expenses were roughly 6,000 for the evening. So we made a small cash profit, which is
encouraging.
We hope that there'll be more value in the exposure.
Well, of course, there's the marketing value, which is really important.
For a one-off event to turn a small profit is very positive. But run over 4 sittings on a monthly basis, a pop-up restaurant has the potential to turn over £200,000, a sum which could make a huge difference to Bantry House.
I thought it was wonderful how the locals gathered around you, supported you, helped you, gave of their time. If Bantry House thrives and is successful for you and for future generations, it will be good for the community as well. Well, it's been very good to meet you.
Thank you.
And I wish you every success.
Thank you.
And I look forward to coming back here to the next event.
Great.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
I know Josh and Sophie found running this event extremely hard work, but to be honest, the struggle's only just begun.
It's great that Sophie has started to take charge at Bantry, and I believe that she's inherited some of that steeliness from her parents, so that one day she may be able to take over completely.
I hope I've made them realise that if they continue to work hard and run exciting, inventive events throughout the whole year, then there's a chance that their family can stay living in this beautiful house.